Hey you, I'm the Queen of Shade. Welcome to the interview. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and hit my Cash App to support your favorite content creator. Now let's get to the interview. Mwah.
Let me tell you something. You're a bougie bitch and your mama is too. Said you're a bougie bitch and your mama is too. You're a bougie bitch and your mama is too. Said you're a bougie bitch and your mama is too.
Salutations, Dufos. This is your fabulous leader, the Queen of Shade, coming at you with another special presentation. Moving forward, getting to know amazing people, mavericks, people that are giants in their own right, people that just do so much to shape our world. Having said that, I have someone that you need to meet right now. Now, he didn't want me to read his whole bio, but you know me, I'm going to read the whole thing. So here we go. Thornell Jones Jr., co-managing partner of the Ovation Agency, has been a leader in entertainment marketing for 30 years, learning the business from the ground floor, first as an intern and then as a financial analyst for Capitol Records. He launched his career in marketing with several labels, beginning at Mercury, then Giant, Motown, A&M, MJJ Music, and Hidden Beach, where he generated nearly $60 million in revenues, launching the company along with developing the careers of Mike Phillips, BB Winans, and Jill Scott. An innovative marketing mind, Jones has furthered the careers of a broad range of artists with household names including Darius Rucker, Tatiana Ali, and Diana Ross. A 20-year voting member of the Recording Academy, he holds 13 Grammy certificates for his marketing with Jill Scott, Ann Nesby, Calvin Richardson, Anthony David, India Irie, Victor Duplex, I don't know how to say that, it's French, it's like Duplay or Duplex, Angie Fisher, and most recently, Danae Vloss and Sangeeta Kaur. Recent client projects include Chance the Rapper, in parentheses, ESPY, and Grammy performances, Sadia Garrett's 30th anniversary of Man in the Mirror, Isotopia Records, and record label and charitable foundation, Music for Love International. Almost done, guys. It's a lot of credits and well-deserved. In addition to producing dozens of music videos, he was executive producer for the original Jill Scott, a documentary which aired on the Centric Network, an associate producer of the First Time Kid of the Year Awards for Nickelodeon. Jones also helped develop a new live music television series with In Focus Entertainment, Real Music Live. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome a giant in the industry, Mr. Thornell Jones Jr. Hi. You said to me, it's so funny because you sent me the email and you're like, child, you don't have to read all this. and when I read it, I was like, I have to read it all. And the reason I chose to read it all is because
yes,
in the industry,
yes,
and in an industry that is, when we get one, We give you your flowers while you
Thank
can
you.
smell them. So how are you today, Mr. Thornell Jones Jr.?
Wow. Well, Thornell Jones Jr. is super busy, and I'm really happy to say that, because there's a lot of my friends who A, aren't here anymore, B, aren't busy, or if they're busy, they're not doing this anymore, you
Yeah.
know? And I know from a little kid, I was a music fan. I was passionate about art and artistry. And so to be able to, you know, um, ply my trade in this environment, it's a blessing. It really, really is. So
Yeah, I must
I,
agree. I must agree. I was saying I must agree because your resume is extensive.
mm,
You have touched so many lives. And and what I love about it is people wouldn't know, because
mm,
these people went on, and I'm sure they thanked you at awards and different things like that. And people are like, oh, well, what's that name? We don't know that name, but they knew who you were and they were thanking you for your contribution to their careers.
mhm,
But what people don't understand is that it's not really about the people that are in front of the camera,
mm,
in the limelight,
mm,
because as an entertainer myself,
mhm,
for 20 years trying to get into the industry, trying to make it, I have learned that there are many toggles
mm.
and many strings
Yeah.
behind the scenes, and there are countless brilliant masterminds that make all of that happen, that make our favorite stars look their best.
Yes. This
So
is true.
so I just want to say I am so honored and humbled because I didn't know you were following me.
Mm,
I didn't know that you were acquainted with what I do. I didn't know that I was even a blip on the radar. And I'm
mm,
saying that because I'm getting ready to tell them it was you who reached out to me for
right,
Pride Month to
mm,
interview the panelist of the new Fox Soul show, The House.
right.
And I mean, it literally, you know how they say, you hear a lot of famous people say, oh, this came to me and this came to me.
Mhm.
That really came to me. It fell in my lap out of nowhere. And they always say that, people always say, oh, I want to change the world. I want to change the world. I want to change the world. Well, we'd all like to do that. But in truth, if you can affect one person,
Yes.
it can change everything.
Yes,
And
that
the
is true.
fact that you saw something I did and
Mm,
were acquainted with me and then reached out to me. And I must say, you have brought some amazing, and I'm gonna use this word, rest in peace, Kevin Samuels, high value
mm,
people
mm,
into my life.
mm.
Me and Cheryl Rich, we're like joined at the hip.
Hey.
Yeah, we are. Shout out to Cheryl Rich. She's a panelist on the House on Fox Soul, and also an executive producer. But we are joined. Like, I mean, we are back and forth, back and forth. I also keep in communication with Chris Curse. Mr. Lemons, I leave him alone because he's a commissioner. I leave him alone. I leave him alone. But even Aaron Levy, yeah, even Aaron Levy, he is just a beautiful soul himself. So, you have brought these people into my life. And my grandmother always said to me, your name will enter rooms that you will never be in or have yet to enter. Your,
Right.
your name, your work, people will be familiar with you. She's been telling me that since I was a little boy.
Mm,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, my grandma is something. She's quite remarkable and very prophetic. So moving on along, I'm gushing over you right now because I want people to understand these kinds of things don't happen just because we're on social media,
Mm.
bantering, or, saying bitch at the end of every, it doesn't, I just want to illustrate to them that it doesn't happen like that. So you said you learned the business from the ground up. You started as an intern. You said to me, I always knew since I was a child that I wanted to be in music. What fueled that passion? Did you grow up with a lot of music in your home? And who did you listen to?
Wow. Well, actually, we did grow up with a lot of music in the home. I think that I don't know if my grandparents knew that they were, raising, 4 Renaissance people. My dad is very much a Renaissance man, but all of his brothers and sisters, there are 4 of them. They all have music lessons.
Wow.
My dad played baritone horn in the marching band, and
Wow.
both my aunts played whatever instruments they played. My uncle actually went to North Carolina A&T and studied music, and after school actually ended up playing with the Count Basie Orchestra
Wow.
for about 10 years. And so when we were little kids, you know, all the jazz greats were, in our orbit. In fact, my cousin's godmother is Charlie Parker's ex-wife.
Wow.
And obviously, like most kids, they were just aunt so-and-so or uncle so-and-so. And, we didn't think very much about it until much later. I got to college and I realized that these people who I took for granted were, legends.
Yeah.
But I started taking piano lessons when I was probably 8.
Mhm.
But that didn't last very long. We moved around a little bit. But I had like an intuitive thing with music.
Mhm.
And so it was singing and theater, music theater, and all that kind of stuff. Did all that through junior high school. I actually ended up winning a talent contest with a song that I wrote when I was 14. And it was at that point I was just like, oh, okay, there's something here. I want to do this.
Yeah.
So all throughout high school and then college, I actually ended up just doing music all the time. I know people thought that I was in college studying music, but I wasn't. I was actually an economics major with a
Right.
minor in corporate finance.
Right.
But it was the music that was kind of just drawing me along, and it just, like I said, been there since I was a little kid. So it was not a surprise to me that it was calling me. But yeah, it started with the family.
Wow. So you're in college, you graduate. I want to know what it was like because, see, for younger generations, they don't understand, a lot of the things that we see today are what's the word, cumulative. Like they've been around for a long, 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 long time, and you're seeing brands that are powerhouses today because they've been powerhouses for decades. Like you said, you've got 30 years in. So what was it like to make the decision? I'm going to Hollywood. I'm going to LA. I'm going to go do this.
Well, it was traumatic on a number of fronts because as an economics major, someone who studied corporate finance, I didn't automatically get the support that I would have wanted. And there's no diss or anything. It was just, most middle class Black families, they're going to push you towards something that's stable and, is going to make you some money so you can have a comfortable life.
Yeah.
The music business was a big question mark.
Yeah.
And my dad was very fearful of the social stuff associated with it. He saw a lot of the jazz people get consumed by drugs and things. And so it wasn't really encouraged. But like I said, right out of school, I wasn't doing music. I was actually, I spent the first year out of school working part-time at a investment house called Value Line, and trying to get a job at a actually that was they were kind of like the modern day of the Motley Fool, people who do stock analysis and stuff. So I was trying to get a job at an investment bank, and that was great. Hitting the street, having the interviews and things of that nature. But after a year, I didn't get a job. And so since I grew up as a child of an IBMer, I could find a job at IBM. It was not what I wanted to do. Fast forward, I actually ended up taking a job at IBM. It was a great experience. I was head of my marketing class. All the things that should have happened. It was after 4 years of being a systems engineer. I was just like, and it was very much like being Superman and Clark Kent.
Yeah.
During the day, I was wearing my blue suit and my white shirt, my red tie, and dealing with my clients. And at night, I'd rip that tie off and take the subway down to the East Village and make music with my friends.
Right.
It was so funny because at one point I was literally just I was on the subway and this lady saw me and she said, "You need to be a model." And so I was just like, okay. So I even started putting my toe into the modeling world. And I was like, it didn't have that kind of effort reward kind of equation that I usually like to. So I didn't pursue that. But while I was working for IBM, I've got my feet wet. I actually had a artist manager. My manager was the vice president of PR for Epic Records.
Wow.
His name was Wilford, and he was one of the co-managers of New Kids on the Block. So very high level,
Yeah.
management and representation in the business. So it wasn't like I was wallowing at the bottom of the pile.
Right.
But when I did this demo and I got passed on by Arista Records, I was just like, oh, hold on now. I need to know more about this business because here I am busting my ass and everyone says this is so great. And the A&R guy told my manager that I would have to be marketed as jazz. And I was just like, it's so interesting. This is something that's in me that I had avoided,
Yeah.
I wasn't jazz, I was pop music.
Yeah.
When I was in college, my manager, not my manager, my drummer referred to me as the Blackberry Manilow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I fell out. I thought that was so funny. But the truth is, it was true. I was a Black guy doing sad pop music.
Yeah.
So when I made the decision to ultimately leave Manhattan and move to California, there was a bit of strategy there.
Yeah.
On one hand, yes, I wanted to pursue a career in music on the music side, but I had highly developed business acumen and an economics degree. So what I did was I applied to the entertainment management program at UCLA's Anderson Graduate School of Management. And I convinced my dad that, this was a good thing. I was going to go get an MBA and, pursue a career in the business side of music. All along in my head, I'm thinking, I will use this knowledge and these relationships on behalf of my own career.
Right.
I get to LA and I'm a voracious reader. I'm like a student of the industry. And I read a couple books and they all say, you have to make a choice.
Yeah.
You can't be an artist and a businessman.
Right.
Or a suit, right?
Right.
Can't be an artist and a suit. You got to make a choice because the artists won't respect you if you're a suit, and the suits won't respect you if you're an artist. So you have to make a decision.
Right.
And I had to take a deep look, and I think that the whole Arista thing kind of set me up for saying, you know what? Maybe that's not your destiny. Maybe your destiny is to help artists manifest their dreams into reality.
Right.
And so in that moment, in that decision, I decided that that's what I would do. I would lay down my artistry and now take my creativity into the marketing sphere and help the artists.
I can draw some similarity there because what happens is, what people don't understand about this business is it is business. It is absolutely business. Literally, people sit in a room all day and they decide what you wear, what you look like, how you sing, where you go, what products you market. They decide all of these things. And when you're a young artist, I draw from the same thing you just said, because here I was a young person, and my A&R, I've never said the record label before, but my A&R worked with Sony. Mm-hmm. So I remember being in New York and I remember meeting him, and I'll tell that story another time, but what I am trying to get at is that something will happen that
Mhm.
kind of makes you furious.
Mm.
And you say, I have to protect other people from having this happen to them. And that's kind of where I can kind of draw inference with, because you're like, okay, well, I got to balance. I want to make sure other people find that, because like you even said it, if you're an artist, you can't be a suit. If you're a suit, you can't be an artist. So it was kind of like, I feel like kind of like you deciding I'll be the bridge. I'll be the bridge.
Well, that's absolutely where it came from, because I knew that I was good at both,
Yeah.
but I also had a kind of overarching kind of cultural
Yeah.
mission, and that was, well, it's two things. And my dad was, when we were young, was very active in the civil rights movement, and we were children of the civil rights movement.
Yes.
And I remember it was 1967 or 1960. I think it was 68.
Mm-hmm.
Could have been as late as 71, but needless to say, we were little kids.
Yeah.
And there was a song that came on the radio. It was a huge record called Soul Makosa.
Mm.
Mama Say Mama Sama Makusa comes from that song,
Uh-huh.
that sample, that Michael
Wow.
is known for.
Wow.
And anyway, between that record and Grazing in the Grass by Hugh Masekela, I had this thing about African music.
Yes.
And when my dad was like, well, why do you feel like you need to do this? I said, I am going to help bridge African Americans and Africans through music.
Yeah.
This was my stated mission,
Yes.
right? Of course, I didn't get to Africa until 30 years later.
Okay.
But it was so important to me that music was used as a cultural bridge.
Yeah.
But also, one of the things that made me fume and continues to make me fume,
Yeah.
is this idea of what I call the racehorse theory.
Yeah.
All the talent,
Yeah.
is this.
Yep.
And the folks behind the scenes are this.
Yep.
And I was just like, no.
No.
There has to be someone on the other side with some cultural sensitivity,
Yeah.
and to be able to help drive the business
Yeah.
with an African American point of view and sensibility, and et cetera, et cetera. So that was very, very important to me.
Yeah.
Right. And so one of the things that I learned very early on was that the business was, I'm just going to say, racist.
Yeah.
And not that it was racist in a negative way. But by I mean that they weren't carrying, those darkies
Yeah.
in their heart.
Yeah.
I came in the business in the 90s,
Yeah.
but you have to fast forward, go back 50 years.
Yeah.
During the era of quote unquote race records, when the structure of the music business, was set up.
Yeah.
And so here we are in the 90s, and we're now dealing with this concept called Black music, and there's Black music divisions. And here I come along looking like this, and they're like, oh, you're going to work in this department.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, no problem, because I love my music, the music of my people.
Right.
And yet I'm the Blackberry Manilow.
Yeah.
So I have very pop sensibilities,
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, can I do that too? And they're like, well, no, you got to start over here. Very few people of color start in pop.
Right.
They start their careers in Black music, right?
Right.
In fact, I was working in the marketing department at Mercury Records, and one of the first jobs that came along was a job as a product manager, and they didn't even let me interview.
Wow.
They gave that job to the Puerto Rican intern because they assumed, because it was a job for electronica and alternative, that I wouldn't be interested, or I wouldn't have aptitude. But they didn't know that all throughout college, high school and college, I played in a rock band,
Yeah.
right? So they're making all these assumptions based upon,
Yeah.
this perception because of my art
Value.
pursuits.
Space value.
So yeah, I dealt with that very early in my career, very, very early in my career. But I, coming in, I knew that it was there and I had to deal with it very early. Yeah.
You know what's so funny? Fast forward to today where Black music is now popular music.
Yes, it sure is.
You see, it's no longer Material Girl Madonna. It's no longer, though Black Beyonce is popular music. That baby, that beautiful woman can put out any record. It could be country, it could be, the genre. The genre could change and they gonna still market her as a popular artist. And I love sitting down and hearing this from you because I very much, when I was younger, had dreams of going into the industry, especially the music industry. And what happened was, even with the A&R, his name is Michael Taylor at that time, what he did was, it was before I found my sound. It was before anybody knew that I was a mezzo soprano. I was singing tenor because that's what I was forced to sing in the religious kind of circuit. So nobody knew that I was actually a mezzo soprano. So I remember it was kind of funny how he found out, because I was in his house in Brooklyn. And I was doing like backgrounds and different things like that. He had me doing some things. The record was Peter Gallagher, and just different things like that. He had me playing with the music, and I didn't even know Peter Gallagher could sing, first of all, because he was an actor. But it was a wonderful record. It was a wonderful album, and I was singing that stuff. And then he had me sing this song. He was like, "I want you to sing this song," and I can't remember it's an old time song, but it starts off, "When something is wrong with my baby, something is wrong with me." So he had me doing that, and I'm doing it, as a tenor. I'm doing it where I feel I should be respected to do this. And he says, and he kept saying to me, "It's just not, you're not giving it what you need to give it. You're not giving it the heart. I don't hear from you what I need to hear from you." So I was getting frustrated. It was my first time in a recording booth. It was my first time singing to a microphone all by myself and not with a choir. It was my first time. So I was frustrated. So I asked to go to the restroom, lavatory. So I go to the lavatory, and that's always been a place for me. I do a lot of videos for TikTok too, and I'm always in the bathroom, because that place for me is like that. Even growing up as a child in a religious home, that place was where I discovered my sexuality. It was where I discovered my identity. It was where I discovered my voice. And I mean everything, like I just said, everything happened in that bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, and without even thinking, because I just realized it was a bathroom, I just started singing, and I did, "Something's wrong with my baby, something is wrong with me." And I started singing, and I started going up, and I came out, and he was standing at the door.
Oh no.
And he said to me, and this is what I knew, because even today, like I reached out to him, his wife, because he was also managing his wife. His wife, her record went big in Australia. So he left the States to go after her career in Australia. So he said to me, he said, "Can you carry an entire song in that range?" And I very sheepishly said, "Yeah, I can carry a whole song up there." And he looked at me, he said, "Okay." And then he kind of let me go for the day. And right before he got with me again, his wife went big. And then I had no A&R. I had no end, because like, in the business, your A&R, it's the same thing with as a model, your booker is God. Like, you better follow them wherever they go, because they believe in you. Yeah, because they believe in you. They see you. Everybody else doesn't see you. You can walk to a room, people are like, "Who are this?" It's your A&R's job to be like, "Oh, this is the next big thing. This is, So I remember him calling me. And it was the first time that I realized I didn't want to just be this and not be the businessman as well. I started having those ideas after I took something here in Philadelphia called the Landmark Forum. And it taught you about transformative work, about being in control, about the world, and you can manifest anything that you put your mind to in a good way. And so I called him from the course, and I was like, not going to come back. I think I'm going to start in coffee shops. I think I'm going to start on a smaller scale. And I'll never forget, he says to me, I want to make sure your voice is heard by millions of people around the world, and you want to sing in coffee shops. That was the last time I talked to him. And that was the funny thing. That was the last time we ended. Let's just say that call ended. And then, but before he left my life, he had put me in connection to my vocal coach. So my vocal coach name is Deb Chamberlain, and Deb, she worked with a lot of people. Her teacher was the one he actually wanted me to work with in New York, but because I had to have a job and take care of myself, I couldn't get to New York all the time for the sessions. So he sent me to South Jersey, and Deb Chamberlain was the one that I worked with. And her teacher, Deb is amazing. Like, I mean, a powerhouse. So I stayed with Deb, and over the years, I started just making my own music. I started singing, and I remember after my album had come out, I reached out to Michael like, hey, take a listen to this, just to, old nostalgia's sake. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I knew you could sing like that. He just went off. He went off. He was like, I knew you could sing like that. I knew it. And he was like, what are you doing? And I said, I wanna be independent. And he was like, well, I respect your decision. And that was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Well, that was also a time when people didn't, the independent sector had not been developed as much.
Right.
And so, I mean, even myself, working at a major label, if you were independent, I was kind of like, oh, that's nice.
Exactly. You hit that on the head. Yeah, that's nice. Oh, that's cute.
But I've always been the champion of the underdog. I served on some Grammy committees, and when the independent music would come through, I'd be like, no, we need to give that a shot. We need to give that a shot.
Wow.
And it's very funny that at a certain point, like 46% of all the Grammy awards are being awarded to independent artists. And at that point, I was like, see, this independent sector is not something that you can ignore. But the major labels want to control everything, and both the business and the revenue.
Right.
So it's it's not surprising that your A&R had a kind of dismissive, oh, you don't want to be in the big time then kind of response to your product. It certainly wasn't a quality evaluation. It was just based upon the knowledge that having access to the machine at that time was the difference maker.
Yeah.
Very few people were able to rise to the level of their greatness without the machine.
Right. And it's kind of funny. I want to ask a question because you're a voting member of the Grammy Recording Academy. Did you vote for Little Nas X to get a Grammy?
I did.
Yes. I just wanted to know. Because you're a voting member. Like, yeah, I'm so thank you. Okay.
Yeah. And both rounds. So the nominations came, and I was like, good. And then when the actual awards came around, I voted for him again. I have a discerning ear, I guess, whatever. And I just really thought the quality of what they were doing was so amazing. Take all the sexual politics out of it and all that. I just thought as music, it stood alone and was deserving of recognition.
Right. So. My God. So look at this. You've got this beautiful 3-decade stellar career that it's just, you can't shake a stick at it. So this is the thing. There is a certain woman that I think for the last 5 years of my life, not really been obsessed with, but been taking note of. And she was incomparable. She is still living. She was the only one I know that her little skinny body could go out into a stadium full of fans and be on stage by herself, not a background dancer in sight, and captivate the entire stadium. And that is none other than the most incomparable diva Diana Ross.
Yes,
You
Miss
know,
Diana Ross.
she is the blueprint for a lot of what is like listen, I tell people all the time, baby, you got there because of the people that came before
That's
you.
right. That's absolutely correct.
I just want to ask very quickly because it's personal, but how was your interactions with her? Because I mean, I remember seeing her on an interview because I watch everything. So I'll go back and I look for interviews, anything that she said, anything she expounded upon. And Barbara Walters was talking to her, and Barbara Walters was just saying, she just had this presence about her. She said, what happens if this record isn't the record? What happens if this tour isn't the tour and it doesn't do well? And Diana looked at her and she said, then I'll make another record. I'll do another tour next. And I loved her reactions. But what it was this woman really thought like this in her world. She talked about how we have negative thoughts and positive thoughts, and everyone has them. But if you give more attention to the positive thoughts, you get further in life. Like this woman, okay, this is what I'm getting at. A lot of artists are not credited for being the intelligent people that they are.
That is true.
Yes.
And actually, that's a great entry point into my response because
Yes.
I worked with Diana Ross in 1995, 96.
Mm-hmm.
I was at Motown.
Mm-hmm.
And, on my first day, they were like, okay, we're going to give you Diana Ross. This is like,
exactly.
keeping it real, I was just like, I heard that she was, tyrannical. I heard she was a bitch. Yeah. And they were like, oh, no, she'll like you. Don't worry about it.
Oh!
Like, okay. And sure enough, on our very first phone call, we got along great. And the one thing that struck me through that the whole time working with her for about a year or so was that she was an early adopter of technology. And she also was we talk about branding now and everything, and brand. She understood her brand.
Yeah.
It was 1995. I don't think people realize that, because we're so used to it right now. You and I were emailing each other back and forth this afternoon, making sure we had all the assets. And Diana and I would email them back and forth in 1995.
Wow, that says a lot.
Yeah, 1995, and she was a citizen of the world. Her husband Arne Næss was from Norway.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of different stories, but the one I'll tell you is VH1 was starting a new show called VH1 Divas.
Yes.
And they came to me and were like, we want Diana Ross on the show. And I was just like, oh, I'll see what I can do.
Right.
So I would email her and say, hey, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And they're going to have this designer give you a gown and we're going to do all this stuff. And they really want you on the show.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I don't know, Thornell. And I was like, okay. So she came to LA. They were giving her some kind of tribute at the Soul Train Music Awards.
Yes.
And so she invited me backstage to her trailer. And of course, I'm like, I've been dealing with her on email and phone for months and months, but I get to go to the trailer and I'm just like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to Miss Ross' trailer. But I'm holding it together,
Right.
And she said, so tell me why you want me to do this. I said, well, the record's not performing how we really wanted to, how we thought it should. And I thought that this would be a great way to give it a shot in the arm. They're going to do this, they're going to do this, they're going to do this. And I just think it would be a great way and a great platform to kind of relaunch the record in the consumer's mind.
Right.
And so she stopped and she kind of, didn't literally put her finger to her head, but I could just see her the
wheels
moving, right?
The wheels
turning. And then she responds, they need me more than I need them.
Oh, and she was right.
And she was right. And I was just like, and there you have it. And I said, okay, I get it. And so that was the end of that conversation. But she liked the fact that I wasn't intimidated by her, that I would bring her these ideas, that we would back and forth and things of that nature. And so when Motown got, swallowed up by Universal and they installed Andre Harrell as the new president of the label and stuff like that, and she felt, like she might get lost in the middle of that, I got laid off.
Yeah.
But she continued to call me.
Wow.
Yeah, she continued to call me, and we talked about working together.
Yeah.
I have a great story that people wonder what happens. You got, what do they always say? They say you always got to be prepared, right?
Yeah.
So I'm independent. I don't know what I'm doing, right? It's 1996 at this point.
Yeah.
I hadn't yet gone to work for A&M Records, and she calls me and she says, we had some meetings before at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I was living in LA at the time, and she called me and said, "Can you come for a meeting tomorrow?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I thought she was asking me to come to the Beverly Hills Hotel to her bungalow, and I was like, "Okay, I know where that is." I said, "Okay," so give me the address. So she gives me the address, New York, New York, 10022.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, "Okay, so what time?" She said, 11. I said, "Okay, sounds great." Hung up the phone, at which point I'm like, she's got to be kidding me. But what I knew was it was a test.
Yes.
So I went online, looked in my American Airlines frequent flyer account, booked me a ticket on the red eye to New York, got myself together,
Yes.
flew to New York, got there 5 o'clock in the morning, went and had breakfast,
Yeah.
and I was there knocking on her door or her office
At 11.
at 11.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was never discussed because she knew I was in LA.
Wow.
But I came for the meeting.
Yeah. you, these are the things, like, this is what I tell people, because even on my journey, it has always been an endeavor of mine to retain what I create, to retain it. And what people don't understand is because of the beautiful brilliance of the internet, if you hold on to it long enough, you'll see returns.
Yes, this is true.
Yeah, it takes, but the thing is, people don't want to wait. They don't want to wait because, and even me, I share in my story, I probably wouldn't even be able to do what I do if it were not for my grandmother being retired and have, sewn into me her entire retirement pension so that I can sit and be Demi Moore in Dappled Light, kind of like just, oh, I think I'll create this today. I think I'll put this wig on. Like, there are things that have to go into place. But I love hearing, especially with Diana Ross, because I could tell from her very early on watching her that she was a boss. And I mean that. She understood not just what was going on in front of the camera, but what was going on behind the camera. And you said something in your story that most people don't understand, is because, they think that all the stars are, in this one big rainbow room and they're all getting along and everything is kumbaya. And I'm saying this, what they don't understand is behind the place, behind the venue, are trailers lined up. And each star is in a trailer with their own people, hair and makeup. And then somebody comes and knocks on the trailer like, "You're on a stage in 5." Like it's a lot of smoke and mirrors, but it's a lot of business. It's a lot of business, and in my life, the business side, like I love what I do because I grew into this. But what excites me the most is when people respect me for my business acumen, and I love that people, because they know, okay, this is 6 years. This is 6 years I've been the Queen of Shade, the reigning Queen of Shade. It's trademarked. I own it. I've kept it, So I love that people now, when they come to me, they're like, I need to learn. It's not so much, oh, will you be in my collaboration? Will you be in my music video? Will you, like, it's like, no, I've even started I make money teaching people what I know. because it's like, and get it, my lessons are from my life. They're what I experienced. They're what I went through. I'm like, I did, American Idol, and they were mad with me, but I walked away from that too, because it was just like, the end game wasn't what I wanted. And see, that's the thing. Everybody today, even artists today, I tell them, you're so busy looking at upfront, upfront, upfront. My grandmother taught me the most important part of your journey is the back end. You got to make sure you can ride off into the sunset with a boatload of cash. And that seldom ever happens. It seldom happens because I have this one friend, and he's a famous TV presenter and fashion designer in Paris, France. His name is Vincent Doom. And Vincent, he always says to me, the life of an artist can be so difficult, because when you have it, you have it. And when you don't, you don't. It's that extreme. Yeah. There really isn't a middleman for that. So, with that in my head, and him mentoring me even, to step into the French market, because that's where I'm going. So it's like, all right, I got to remember, save your money. I learned how to get dresses for cheap. I learned how to get hair. I learned how to do my own makeup. I even want to go to cosmetology school, not for anybody else, for me. So I can really be, because TV makeup is different than, regular makeup. And, so I have learned that what makes you more valuable.
Absolutely.
What
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that whole adage that I shared earlier about having to make a choice,
yes,
no longer is true. That time is gone.
Yes.
I tell artists now that you have to be a business person.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand what's going on with social media.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a strategy and a plan,
mm-hmm.
and execute according to that. And if you're not willing to do that, then you're at a disadvantage.
Yep.
Because the artist development doesn't exist anymore. You're doing that part with your manager. You're building your own fan base and audience, communicating with them, and essentially, the algorithm is looking for something that pops, and when it pops, you better be ready.
Yes.
And two, you have to be in position to be able to take advantage of it, and that then becomes the artist development arc. And you have to be up to it and be able to turn both sides of your brain on. It can't be just left brain creative. It also has to be right brain business.
You know what's so crazy? You're absolutely right. I made so many mistakes. When I went viral, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. Was just doing me. It was 15 seconds. I was in my grandmother's church hat. I didn't even have a brand at that time. And I popped because a friend of mine who had a huge worldly following shared a 15-second video of me. And I literally went from 10,000 followers to 22,000 overnight.
That's crazy.
Yes, and I wasn't ready. It took me 6 years to get ready. Wow. My business acumen now is ready. And now it's like, it's so funny because, when you hope to go viral again, you're praying for lightning in a bottle. It's like, it doesn't really happen. So I'm like, I'm ready. So now I'm holding on, and I'm still riding on the attention I got 6 years ago, and perfecting myself as I go and growing as I go. And it's a lot, but I must admit, when I first went, I didn't know shit. I didn't know shit. Or now I didn't know shit.
Well, trust me when I tell you, you're not the only one.
Okay, because I didn't know shit. Like when I tell you, but the one thing that I had was my work ethic.
Yes.
I was like, well. And I had analysts. Analysts came to me and said, well, you didn't do this, and you could have made money from this, and you could have did this, and you could have did that. And I said, well, there's one thing I have, and that's my content. That's my content. I'm like, because my thing was, I figured I'll release this in 5 years, and it'll keep on releasing it to more generations, and this, that, and the other. It serves. I stopped saying dates in my work so that it could be used anytime, anywhere. Like it became, I learned after the fact. But it worked out for me. But not everybody gets that opportunity.
No, not everybody does. But because not everybody's willing to make that level of commitment.
Honey,
somebody might have turned and said, have gone after it had gone viral, kind of
yeah,
jumped into it and said, okay, I'm going to do this. And then when it didn't have when
yeah,
they weren't able to,
yeah,
capture lightning in a bottle, they would have been like, okay, that was nice and moved on.
yeah.
It's really and truly like anything.
Mhm.
Malcolm Gladwell says, in order to become an expert in anything, you have to put in 10,000 hours.
Yes.
Well, if you do the math, it's like 8 years,
Yep. Yep.
you know,
Yep.
it's like 8 years. So settle in, do the work,
Yep.
and that'll increase the likelihood that it will happen again.
Yes.
When they always talk about the 10-year overnight success, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is crazy because get this. In 2009, I was on YouTube before, and my viral thing happened 6 years ago, but I was on YouTube. I met a certain Hollywood insider, and that person said that they loved everything about me and wished me well.
Mhm.
Then after that, they launched a hate campaign behind the scenes against me. Tampered with computers, hacked phones, leaked albums, did all kinds of stuff. And what I did in the interim was I had to keep thinking on my feet before I could get a lawyer and we could get people to try and figure out what was going on. And I put up with that for 15 years.
Wow.
And I had a situation and it happened, and they're legal papers, so I can speak about it. But in 2018, I was recording my debut album in Atlanta. I went to Atlanta because that's where my producer was. We had been communicating over the internet, and I had been just going to a local studio with a producer there, and then we would send her the work, and she would mix and master and all of that stuff. So what happens is, Nene Leakes. Now, mind you, she queen of the gays. The gays know everybody.
Right.
She queen of the gays. Now, mind you, the gays knew who I was, but some gay, look at this, some gay talked Miss Nene Leakes into thinking that she could go on a comedy tour and name it the Queen of Shade.
Mhm.
Honey, honey, honey. So quickly, my lawyer shut that down.
Right.
And it was the craziest thing because my lawyer said to me, get ready because this is going to bring you a lot of attention. Don't go back and forth with her online. But this is the break that you need. When that happened, because this person works in media,
Mhm.
when that happened, my album got leaked.
Uh,
And but look at it. I had to, and I'm glad it happened because I understood what the person was doing. I had gotten so far in my career, the last step for me was point of sale.
right. Right.
I was trying to corral this whole audience into point of sale.
Right.
So that was the last step for me. So when the Nene thing happened, that person knew like, oh my God, this is going to bring so much attention, and they're going to go look at everything that she's done and who she is and see that this person has been around and naturally think, yes, she's more adept than I am. So they tried to stop that. And I mean, to this day, I used to have a link tree in my Instagram account. I don't have that anymore because for some reason, the link just wouldn't work. Every time I used to have to check my profile every single day because someone would tamper with every add-on link that I put in my bio to stop people from getting to the point of sale. This person was literally just trying to stop the money. They didn't care that I had grown. They didn't care about the hair, the wigs, the nothing. They cared about the point of sale because the financial freedom meant I could come for them. In ways that they would be caught. So long story short, it made me so savvy. I learned how to work around them.
Mm.
I learned how to, like, literally, there was a point where something to be wrong with my computer, I had to go to another computer. Something to be wrong with my phone, I had a second phone. Like, I had to literally work around what they were doing. I
Thank
remember,
God.
yes, get this, earlier this year, my website went down. Just, I mean, and I mean, it was a time when I'm big, people are seeing my content, people are finding me. My website went down. And I'm calling tech support, and they're like, we can't see how it's done. I'm like, well, y'all need to fix it, because that's what I pay y'all for. So
Mm.
I don't care. Y'all need to fix it. They were able to fix it, but I noticed now it's kind of crazy, because even on my phones, I'll notice like it'll surge. And then all of a sudden it'll tell me you don't have enough space. Now, mind you, the phone is empty. I done took every app off. I done took everything off. Now, all of a sudden you don't have enough space to record your content. And I would say to my grandmother, she used to say to me, are you angry? Are you angry? Are you angry? And I was, but more so, I thought about it. And today, all that person did was push me into my destiny.
Hey, there
It
you go.
literally, I get this. Had they not messed with me,
Mhm.
I would not have gone as far as I've gone,
Facts.
because I literally got angry and said, I'm gonna show this bitch. I'm
Facts.
show this bitch. I'm going to do, and I'm going to. I mean, there was a point, even when I went viral, they stole a video off of my page, hacked a celebrity's page with 2 million followers, put my video up there and said I hacked the page. So 2 million followers started reporting me.
Mhm.
I had to take and make my account private. But get this, didn't just go after my account, attacked the account of my friend who was a viral sensation who helped me, tried to take us both out. And every time, it was so funny, because I bring this up for this reason in conclusion to this thought. Cheryl Rich, I was talking to Cheryl and I was telling her about this, because she's in Hollywood. So I'm laying name and shame and blame. I'm telling her in secret, this is what's going on. And she said to me, she said, how many years has it been? I said, about 16. She said, Queen, I'm gonna ask you again. She said, because you don't have it. And I looked at her, because we FaceTime. She said, how many years has it been? I said, 16. She said, and he ain't take you out yet? She said, baby, if it's been 16 years, and yes, you had to go around and do all of this and make workarounds, but you're still here, you meant to be here. This is God's work. You don't need to worry about that no more.
Mhm. That's right. And I'm glad she shared that with you, and I would share with you the same voice, because you seem to have come to an understanding that, you had to go through that in order to get to this point.
Yes.
Um, and it didn't matter the source of it. It pushed you to a higher level of greatness, a higher level of excellence that you might not have achieved if you weren't forced into doing it.
Exactly.
I totally understand that. I have stories like that in both my professional and my personal life,
Yeah.
of being pushed to a different level of excellence
Yeah.
and attainment in order to overcome obstacles.
Yeah.
So, it's a great story, and yet in the end, all repeat as an entertainment marketer, I'm telling
Yes.
you,
Yeah.
and all they care about is what they're seeing in this little square right here
Yeah.
and how great it is.
Yeah.
The backstory, I mean, that's great, but in the end, they want to be entertained. They want to see the fabulousness and
Yeah.
et cetera, and and then there will be some little boy from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, who'd be like, oh, I want to know the story. I want to know. I want to become her. You know,
Yeah.
and then they'll go digging and learn your story.
Yeah.
So,
And and I love how you said that, because that's what people don't understand. Entertainment is actually not a place to have a heart. It's not a place.
it is. I mean, the business side of it can be absolutely ruthless.
Yeah.
I recently had someone steal a credit from me, and
Oh,
I was very, very upset
yeah.
when it first happened,
Yeah.
and then I was like, you know what? It's all good, because in the end,
Yeah.
A, I know I did it, and
Yeah.
B, the people around me know I did it,
Yeah.
and I was sewing into something that was bigger than me,
Yeah.
and so maybe that was God's way of saying, this is not you. This is not about you. This is not about,
Yeah.
anything, but you were in service. And so once again, back to my very beginning of my career,
Yeah.
what did I decide? I was going to be in service of artists and helping them manage their dreams come true. So it fit very much into that through line. So therefore, I let the anger
Yeah.
and the frustration go away because I knew that I was in service and I had done my
Yes.
job.
Yes. And there's a level of excellence. Get this. I don't live like this. So, being a cross dresser, I turn around and when I'm not working, I love to put on my little leopard robe from the Sofia Vergara collection. My grandma got it for me. So it's nice and long and it's like really soft material. So what I'll do is like, I'll finish and then I'll like, if we have trash to take out, there's a dumpster and I'll just, go out kind of in the evening, the cool of the day. And I was out there and I was walking and I was just minding my business. And my neighbor runs out of her house and she's like, if you don't slay, you walking around here all classy and I'm like, what? And it took me by surprise. I was like, what? But then I went in the house and thought about it. There's a certain level of maturity and excellence that I have that I carry into everything that I do.
Yes,
People,
exactly.
yes, people know that there's a certain, if you're calling on me, there's a certain level of integrity that
Yes,
comes with it,
right.
No.
No,
So that's all that matters to me.
yep, that is absolutely the case. And that part is heartwarming to
Yeah.
hear the journey and know that you got the lesson.
Yeah.
I have artists that I've dealt with who still carry around the bitterness of whatever they have. I'm just like, let it go.
Yeah, you got to let it go.
Let it go. It's going to it's eating you up. Those people aren't thinking about you.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Every action done against you has nothing to do with you. It always has to do with the doer.
The other person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and like I said, it is, you have your story of why they did it,
Yeah.
they were intimidated by, they wanted your game, whatever.
Yeah.
The very beginning of my career, within the first 5 years, 3 years of being in marketing, there were people at Mercury Records who plotted to get rid of me.
Wow.
And then years later, literally 15 years later,
Yeah.
I had somebody tell me that one of the people who was key to that plot came to them and was bad-mouthing me.
Wow.
And I was like, I haven't worked with this man in 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
He's still trying to and sabotage. And I'm just like, that's on you.
Yeah.
Because my star has risen.
Exactly. Your light is shining.
and my light is shining.
Yeah.
So you go back to being a real man.
Yeah, right? And that's the thing. Like, even with this person, I don't wish this person any ill will. Nothing. I literally, especially, I grew, it's so funny because even before it, I wasn't in tune with the divine the way that I am now. Mm-hmm. I'm able to do work that is just so it's so spectacular. And it's because of my connection to the divine, because things like that'll make you pray. When you're being attacked from all sides, it'll make you pray. It'll make you pray. And I'm not a religious person, but I had to seek a higher being, a higher power, because I'm like, okay, what's going on? And then to get into it and realize and just look at what I've done and listen to what people have said to me. And now I'm interjecting into my content. I'm like, listen, I survived mental illness, homelessness, abuse, all kinds of things in my life. You don't think I can survive that? Your hatred, your jealousy, your envy, that's nothing compared to what I've been through. So I'm not studying you the way my pastor used to say, ain't nobody studying you. But I want to segue right here, because you are such a mind. This is the thing. You are a mind, mastermind at what you do. What do you do for fun? What are your hobbies? What does it look like for you? Is it a glass of wine, music? What do you do what are your hobbies when you're not voting Grammys? What are you doing?
Well, okay, what are my hobbies? The truth is, for many years, I was, okay, so I used to do music. That was like a hobby, right? After not pursuing it professionally.
Right.
And And then I kind of stopped doing that.
Mhm.
But fitness has always been
Yeah.
very high on my list.
Yeah.
People ask me, um, I turned 60 this year,
Congratulations.
and thank you. And I say that in the most humblest of ways. So many of my friends did not make it to 60.
Yeah.
Um, and so I kind of waved that flag kind of proudly. But people say, "Well, what do you do?" "Oh my God, your skin is flawless." I'm like, "No, what it is I was on a fitness journey when I was a teenager. I was a skinny little boy, and my father sent me to the gym. He was like, go to the gym. You're skinny." And the reason why is because when he was my age, he was skinny too.
Yeah. Yeah. It always has to do with them. They want us to do things, but it's always because of something that happened to them.
Yeah, no, it's true. No, so yeah. So I started in the gym when I was like 14.
Yeah.
And so fitness has always been like top. And so what, I go to the gym, and every once in a while I might take on something competitively. It's
Yeah.
been a while though. Uh, I ran I did 5K and
Wow.
that I don't know. I have this thing to challenge myself, and I
Yeah.
set a goal and go after it, right?
Yeah.
I do love wine.
Yes.
As a kid, my dad was a lover of French wine, so wine and European beers. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so growing up, I knew all about it. Didn't drink it until I was a grown up, but
Yeah.
been to Napa Valley and gone to the wineries and stuff like that. And I belong to a wine club and things
Yeah.
like that. So wine and food and travel. I used to have a group of about 50 or 60 guys that I would help plan trips for.
Yeah.
Where did we go? We've been to Costa Rica. We've been to St. Martin a few times,
Yeah.
Puerto Vallarta, etc. But so, being a concierge, if you were that,
Mhm.
I think now that I live in Miami and I'm always about sharing my experiences, I think I might start a high-end concierge business where I'm like, experience Thornell's Miami kind of thing.
Yeah.
I already have when people used to come to LA from out of town, I was like their tour guide. I say, well, this is that, and what do you want to experience? Oh, I want to see this also. We would go to the Hollywood Hills, and I would give the story of Hollywood land and the
Yeah.
gates to Hollywood. Oh, take these pictures. And we drive up through the mountains and
Yeah.
get there on the Hollywood side, and I would do all that. And they're like, oh, we just wanted to drive down Hollywood Boulevard. I'm like, no, no, no. If you're going to do it, you're going to do
You're
it.
going to do it right. What's
And
the
so,
point of doing it if you ain't going to do it right?
yeah, no, I'm told I work a lot, or I'm a workaholic, and I don't necessarily
Me
think
too.
that is particularly true in spirit, but I just am committed to
Yeah.
the work, and I am committed to quality, and
Yeah.
I know that you don't get that by phoning it in.
Yes. Oh, I love that. You don't get it by phoning it in. Oh, that was so good. That was so good.
So,
Yeah, that was so.
so I do a lot of work, but when we moved here to Florida,
Mhm.
I decided to set up my home office. You see, I got some of
Yeah.
my goodies on the wall back here, but
Uh-huh.
I typically sit on the other side of the desk and
Yeah.
use that as a reminder
Yeah.
of something that you see every day, right?
Yeah.
Of accomplishments and level of attainment
Yeah.
and greatness and things of that nature. So it's reinforcing.
Yeah.
But I turn to my right and I'm looking out the window and I'm looking out here now and there's palm trees and a canal and
Yeah.
shafts of light coming through the clouds, and that to me is inspiring as well. I
Right.
when I lived in LA, I used to hike a lot.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, but right now I think I'm in a phase of life where I'm deciding what it is that I like to do,
Yeah.
and what's next, what's my next thing to conquer, both in my personal sphere and in my professional sphere.
But you've earned it. You've earned it. You've been working for so long. Like you've been working all of your life. You've earned it. It's kind of like, and you said Miami too. I know a lot of people that live in Miami. All my hot boys live in Miami. Like they do. All my hot boys. Yeah, they're all my hot boys. They live in Miami. They run around Miami, bodies out, all kinds of stuff.
Well,
Yeah, they there. But no, like it's it's kind of funny too, like that you said that, because I too, I used to say workaholic, but I like how you said it. I'm going to adopt that. You say I'm just committed to excellence.
Yeah.
Committed to excellence, especially in my life and especially with what I do, because there are people, so many people listening, so many people listening. My work, so many people listening. Like I said, I didn't even know you were one. You know, I didn't, and that's the thing. It's like you don't know who you're touching, and it takes a certain type of person to be able to touch a person on so many different levels.
Right.
You can touch someone like you who's highly decorated, highly educated. Then you can touch the teenager running around, you know, the inner city. Like it takes a lot to be able to kind of have that balance. So I spend a lot of time by myself. I really don't have hobbies. My hobbies are editing for TikTok. But it's okay. I love my life. Like I love my life. And I got off to a late start because of mental illness, the bipolar and the PTSD and the anxiety. So my thing is, it's kind of funny that I'm getting ready to say this, but I've known a man, I've been celibate for 10 years. So I just really needed to focus on my business, but I've known a man that I have loved in my life for 20 years. And it's kind of funny because I never thought I'd get married. I never thought I'd have that kind of relationship. In my interviews, I always said, oh, I'm a hire escorts. Like I just was very upfront with it because, oh, I work so much, you know, work was my thing. I work so much, I pay you to leave, you know, we come, whatever. And you come and you go. And literally I've been talking to this person and we're talking about marriage.
Wow.
And I never thought that would happen.
Oh, trust me when I tell you, I never thought it would happen to me.
Right? It's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, what? Like, but we are. And we're taking it slow because we both late starts in life.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, well, you know, everything has to be right. And neither one of us want to stifle the other. Mm-hmm. And I don't actually know how it's going to go because I am interviewing him tomorrow. Oh. And it's since we've been talking about this because like he was like my spiritual advisor. He was a reverend. So it was like, you know, I met him when we were young. I was 19. Mm-hmm. I was 19. I'm 39. I'll be 40 in September. I was 19 when I met him. I met him in New York City and we had a terrific meeting and we just over the years. And every time I got down, even when a Nene Leakes situation happened, I didn't know what to do. I called him and he was like, God didn't give you this to turn around and let somebody take it from you. And I mean, he just put that fire in me and what will be shall be. And like, and it was, he's always been my rock and nobody knew that. And I haven't even told my grandmother yet that.
Well, you just did.
She don't watch these. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Yes, she does. She watch them late at night. Yes, she does. Well, you're right. I just told her. So now she knows. So now yeah, well.
Wow. That's amazing.
Definitely. So, you know, as we kind of wrap up, I want to know, like who right now, because, you know, you're a music person. So whose career right now stands out to you? Who do you think will go the distance? Because that's the thing. I tell these young artists all the time, it's not about making a splash. It's about being around. You got to last. You got to be there. You know, you got to keep revenue at a certain amount of, like people say, oh, I'm gonna go indie because, you know, I can't keep up with the revenue that the mainstream requires. Well, no, you're going to need that revenue in your life if you're independent as well. If you turn around all of a sudden, you take a pay cut, your life is going to be impacted. So whose career right now do you think really has what it takes to go the distance? Like who's new? Who have you seen and been impressed by and say, okay, he or she is doing her thing?
I got to tell you, I am more than a little surprised. Well, I mean, I won't start there. I'll come back. I really like Dua Lipa.
Okay.
I really like Dua Lipa. I think there's some, some household names. I think they'll be around for a long time. Yeah. Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's going to be around for a long time. Obviously, yeah. Lady Gaga, obviously, she's already shown us that she's able to morph and change and do and maintain that level of excellence at a very high level. Yeah. So she'll be around a long time. Yeah. I love how the artist Her has evolved. I got to tell you, I saw her in a showcase that was during the BMI R&B Awards probably 5 years ago, 2016, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were kind of doing the Sia thing where, you know, you couldn't see her. She was always in the shadows, you
Right.
know, focus on the music, focus on the music. And I was just like, okay, you're a little contrived to me, but okay.
Right.
But she is really, really talented. She's a great songwriter. She's a great singer. She's a great performer, multi-instrumentalist and stuff like that. So I absolutely think that she has a career. And I think that it was great that they took the time to develop her, because she didn't come out the gate
No.
right away, you know?
Oh.
Your Philly homegirl, Jasmine Sullivan.
I knew you were going to say Jasmine Sullivan. That's my girl. I love her. I don't know her personally, but yeah.
Is extraordinary. I
Yeah.
first got exposed to her when she was 15 years old. She did a duet on Kindred the Family Soul's album called I Am.
But do you see, we wouldn't know this. We wouldn't know this. We thought she just came out of nowhere. She was working since she was 15.
15 years old. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, and she's right there in Philly. Yeah, go to Kindred the Family Soul's album Surrender to Love, and there's a song on there. It's a duet with Aja called I Am, and it's a women's anthem. It's a beautiful, great record.
Wow.
But yeah, so I've been watching her for a long time.
Wow.
And I think that she will definitely be celebrated for years to come.
Yeah, she has a song called Masterpiece, and I just talks about the body, and I am, you know, beautiful, and, you know, a picture of beauty. I just, every time I hear it, it just gives me goosebumps.
Yeah. So, and then the one I was going to say before that was the big surprise for me, because I didn't realize how talented she was.
Right.
Doja Cat.
I know, everybody's giving her flowers right now.
Yeah, I face on the floor. I'm like, wow. Yeah. But you know, the last 3 years, Spotify, you know, at the end of the year, they give you your top genres and the top artists that you follow and everything like that. Right. And you know, in true Thornell fashion, African music rose to the top. So yeah. So my favorite African artists are I love Fowles, but on the you know, and it's easy to talk about Burna Boy and Wizkid, but there are other artists that are coming out of Africa that I'm fascinated by, and I love the women. I love Siwa, and I love Tiwa Savage, excuse me. Yeah. And then Thames.
Oh my God.
You know, just wonderful, you know, and you're just like, what a unique vocal expression, you know, and she's still young. She's still coming into it, you know, and as a new artist, you know, I always forgive the, you know, the process. And I'm like, oh yeah, I might approach that a little bit differently and stuff like that. But I think that she's got a career. She's got, you know, something that is special. And as long as they don't use her up, she'll do great. But as you know, you have to strike while the iron's hot.
That's true.
You know, strike while the iron's hot. So, you know, so these are the people who I'm paying attention to these days.
Yeah, and they're amazing people. You know, you mentioned something about African music. When I went to Paris in 2005, I was introduced to Salif Keita's music. Yeah, Salif Keita, and that I used to walk around Paris listening to him. He was just so gifted. Like it was not like I couldn't even compare it to American music. It was in a class all by itself.
Well, you know, the funny thing about African music is, like, at least right now, you know, we're into mostly English-based West African music. Because we understand the language, but there's a lot of francophone music that is amazing as well, in a whole different kind of way. There's an artist out of Senegal named Wally Seck that I'm familiar with, and oh my goodness, I'm losing the name right now. But there's an artist from Cameroon that I just became acquainted with, and I'm just like, wow. I hadn't heard it because it wasn't in my English bag, you know?
Right.
But you know, I can half understand it because I studied French for 9 years.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Look, I went to France and didn't speak a word of it. I know how to say boulangerie, which is bakery.
Okay.
And I know how to say, wait,
Baguette.
yes, that, and I know how to say I am a boy, not a girl, because everybody asked me. Everybody asked me. So I know how to say I am a boy, not a girl.
Okay, I love it.
This is amazing. This was amazing. Give me 3 words that inspire and empower you as a person.
Love,
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
and destiny.
Destiny. I love it. Now, mister, because you know there's going to be a lot of people that want to talk to you about music. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
Okay, well, I think I'd start by trying to get me at Instagram at the Ovation Agency. That's the business account.
Yeah.
If you're, hitting me up for business, if you're an old friend who run across this, feel free to DM me at Thornell J.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at on Instagram. I do have a Twitter with the same handle at Thornell J, but I'm not on Twitter a whole lot.
Yeah.
And if you want to know more about the Ovation Agency, you can check us out at www.theovationagency.com.
Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. This is definitely one of my favorites because
You are more than welcome.
you didn't even really know me, and you reached out and helped my career. You enhanced my career because I'm only as good as the people I talk to.
And you know what? I totally understand that. And all along, I just kind of every time you lay those flowers at my feet, I said, look, I discovered you in the most organic of ways.
Yes.
I just noticed that we were following a lot of the same people, and I would see your comments and sometimes like your comments and or respond to your comments. And I was just like, I want to know, who is this person who's calling themselves the Queen of Shade? And so I went and looked, and I was just like, oh, okay. Very cool. And I was just drawn into your vortex because you're very active in terms of liking and commenting and being, adjacent to my own sphere. So it was really just a matter of time before we connected, right? It's always cool for me when I see a post, a video, something, and it says however many likes it has, and then sometimes it has a couple names next to it of people that I know.
Yeah.
So since I had followed you, I would see your name pop up, and it popped up so many times. I was okay, clearly we're simpatico in some way.
Right. I have that Diana Ross thing going on. I love technology. I love technology. Like I actually wanted a career on the internet. Like I'm building this because I literally want to take this and be able to be sitting on the Bahamas somewhere doing this. Like I want to be able to, like, this, for me, it's a safe space. It's a safe space. And I enjoy a career on the internet because so many people see you and you just never even know.
And you never even know.
Never
know. That's how the Queen of Shade came into my, sphere of influence, my knowledge base.
I'm active.
Awareness.
Yeah, I'm active in my comments. Yeah, I'm active in my comments.
Absolutely thrilled and so thankful that you embraced the house and
it's a wonderful show.
It really is. It's a wonderful show. It's necessary on so many different levels. Yeah. And I was brought to the house by my friend Kurt T. Jones, the showrunner, executive producer.
Yeah.
And he talked to me about it before they filmed it.
Yeah.
And then after the first season was about to roll out, I had already left LA, but he was like, "Oh, we're having the launch party," and whatever. I was like, damn, you didn't give me any runway, I would have come. And then literally the same thing happened for season 2. I'm like, it's here already, and you did. So needless to say, I'm in the boat now.
Yeah.
I'm in the boat now. I'll know with plenty of advance notice.
Yeah.
But I'm a big proponent of allowing the Black LGBT space to have this platform to communicate and to educate and to share. And yeah, and to get a little bit political,
Yeah.
um, last week the Supreme Court struck down Roe v. Wade,
I know, I
and
know.
then in the midst of that was the concurring opinion
Yeah.
of Clarence Thomas,
Yeah.
who said that now we should, revisit contraception and same-sex relationships and same-sex marriage.
I knew that was coming. I knew that
And,
was coming.
oh, I knew it was coming too. Anybody who knows the arc of history knew that that was coming.
Yeah.
But for him to literally put it in writing
Fighting.
should be firing up everyone
Yeah.
who has a moral fiber in their body. And I'm not talking about, left or right or
Right.
conservative or whatever.
You're talking about humanity.
Humanity. This is
Yeah.
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So how can you stand there and say that you're for religious freedom if you don't allow other people to execute their
Their beliefs,
practice
their
their
values. Yeah.
how can you, like right now I had a friend of mine who was a former chief of police
Yeah.
in Ferguson, Missouri, and
Mhm.
came up here in Miami. We had a really great conversation,
Mhm.
and I was like, it's here in Florida they passed this "Don't Say Gay" bill, right?
Oh
And
yeah, I remember that.
already starting to have repercussions because in Orange County, they have now told all the LGBT teachers that they have to take down pictures of them and their spouses, and
Oh.
they have also advised that they are to tell the parents of any youth who has said they're anything other than straight.
Wow.
So it's already happening. So I say this because it's important to be authentic in yourself,
Yeah.
but you also have to know that you have power wherever you sit,
Yeah.
whatever it is you do.
Yep.
If you're the person behind the counter at McDonald's or the person who's fixing the brakes at Pet Boys,
Yep.
you have power. Every time you come in contact with somebody, you have the ability to
Voice.
let them know that you exist and you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And I find it, what I said to my friend who is the police officer, I said, look, they're up here telling the LGBT community there in Orange County that they have to do these things, but it's not against equal protection under the law.
Mm-hmm.
So the straight couples need to be taking down their family photos as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. But his comment to me was, well, you think DeSantis is worried about equal protection?
Mm.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad because after they struck down Roe v. Wade, I'm a shaman, so me and my connection to the divine are quite strong. So I did a TikTok response immediately, and I talked about how the pictures surfaced of women that were protesting this and how they were crying and this, that, and the other, and these were not Black women; these were white women. And I drew that correlation for this reason. I said, the way America is going, the way America is and has been, white women don't even have the same rights as a white man. I said, white men are only out for white men, and that is it.
Yeah, if you didn't know it, you know it now.
Yeah, you know it now. And that's
but they use white women as
exactly. But they think they're property. They think everybody is property. Everybody's to serve them. And get this, I don't mean all white men. I have people that love me, friends. I went to school with all kinds of different races. But the thing about it is, a lot of people are saying this: if you are a Caucasian and you believe in love and equal rights and the powers to be yourself, your silence is condoning this behavior. You need to speak up against your brethren and your sisters and say, you need to stop doing this. This is because I truly believe, like, it was so funny because when the George Floyd situation happened, I said to myself and my grandmother, it's not going to change until white people get involved. White people got involved. White people were laying out on the lawn. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Then we saw change. Black people couldn't accomplish that by ourselves.
No. And that's a lesson for all of us.
Yeah, but it's sad.
It takes all of us.
Yeah, but it does. You're right. I say it's sad, but you're right. That's a beautiful way to end that. It takes all of us. It takes all of us. Black, white, homo, hetero. It takes us all. Because we are all the world.
Yes.
You know, we're the world. You know, I was thinking about that song, you know, we are the world. We are the show. We are what our children have to look forward to. You know, it's just like, you know I don't want kids. I'm too old for that. And I love this career too much. Listen, I done had enough time off. I can't be taking no more time out. I'm 40. I'll be 40.
You say that now.
Don't say that, because I know he's gonna be like, well, we could have one little boy, and I'm gonna be like, no.
We can.
No.
Say that now.
He gonna buy. Listen, I love Persian cats. I will buy as many as I possibly can. No children, but I helped. But the thing is, I helped to raise two of my nephews. My one nephew, he moved out. Sold in already. Yeah, he's 19. He's in California. He moved out to be with his father, and then my other one just left in March. He's 21. He moved in with his girlfriend around the corner, but he's always here. He's always here talking to me and all of this stuff. And he gets mad at me because when I tell him, oh, I made my living will and I made my will, he gets mad when I say I'm going to leave him everything. He says, stop telling people you're going to leave me stuff. That makes it sound like you're going to die. And he doesn't like that. So, but yeah, I did my child rearing child. But anyway, let's go. I thank you so much for sharing this time with me. And I thank you for your impact on my life. Off of this camera and on this camera. You are an amazing man. And I can't wait for people to watch this, because it's just going to be so amazing. So do you have any closing remarks, anything you want to say to us before we go?
You know, I don't have any kind of profound sign offs or anything like that. I just think it's important that, people do the work, the internal work, understand themselves and know their gifts. Yeah. And to step in their greatness by using their gifts.
Yes, thank you. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the vocal stylings of Mr. Thornell Jones Jr. Say goodbye, but don't go away. All right, here we go. So did you enjoy? I hope you did. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, and don't forget to cash at me at the Queen of Shade. I am your favorite content creator, right? Right. You want to see more of this content, right? Right. Cash at me. I love you. Mwah.
I've got my black stilettos on. Don't you make me take them off. I'm assuming first position. Gonna show you I'm a boss. I've been given 60 seconds just to put my thing down. I'll have you wanting my stilettos by the time I turn around. Turn that TV down.